It's Monday. Oh gosh. It's Monday. Hello everybody. Welcome. My microphone was all tangled up there for a moment. Thank you all for joining me today. Welcome. It's Monday. We are checking out the astrolab today. The arturia astrolab, brand new stage keyboard by Arturia, a really new, interesting product from Arturia, and I can't wait to dig into this today with all of you. Maybe it's a little too bright. What do you think? I can make it a little less bright, probably. Nope, that's my focus. It's my focus. Actually, it's probably about right. How are you all doing today? How was your weekend? What have you all been up to? Have you all been making cool music lately? Have you all seen the news about the astrolab? What do you think about the astrolab in general? Let's get into it today. I'm by no means an expert on this keyboard. I just got it over the weekend. A bunch of people already dropped really well-made overview content where they go over every single feature of the astrolab. So if you're looking for that, go watch, like Sanjay or Bo Beats or somebody. But if you want to just ask some questions and do a little exploration today, we can get into it. That opening jam was on a preset called Cinema Layer, which is a layer of two different sounds, a pigment sound and a piano sound. And if you don't know what I'm talking about at all, this new keyboard is essentially all of Arturia's great sounds that you know from Analog Lab, their plugin that houses all of their different individual plugins, from modeled retro synths to their own synths like pigments and things like that. It takes all of those sounds and puts them in a standalone keyboard. So instead of having to use the computer, you now have a standalone keyboard that features all those sounds. So that's what it is, and that's what we'll get into today. But let's not dive into business so quickly here. What is going on? What is happening? You're going to take, I'm telling you all right now, if you're going to talk like this, you're going to take a time out in the chat. You'll be welcome to come back, but we're not going around saying something is a scam. We can talk more about that later. Just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's a scam. It's going to be okay. Nobody says you have to buy it. You're going to be fine. In fact, I want to make it clear. I don't care if you buy this keyboard. I do not care. I'm not getting paid by Arturia. I'm not getting, there's an affiliate link in the description, but my livelihood does not depend on affiliate marketing. So that is just a way for people to be able to support the channel if they take value from the channel. So do not care if you buy it or not. And you guys gotta stop, not you guys, but we know who they are. Y'all gotta stop reacting to new products on the internet as if they're being forced upon you and that you have to buy it and that somebody's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Not a single thing in Arturia's marketing has been deceptive about what this keyboard is. You can't say something is a scam unless there's some kind of deception, right? It's a product that has a price, that has a clearly listed amount of features. Accurately listed amount of features. It's not a scam unless there is some deception going on. If the product is not for you, that's okay. You can just say that. It's not for me. I don't have a use case for it. That's all you have to say. Cyanopsia says it perfectly. If nothing is forced, you can always not buy something. And you guys gotta be careful how you use that language, because there are in my opinion, products that are maybe not scams, but that are not well designed, that are very much overpriced, that do overpromise what they do. I mean, if you all remember the Korg Chaos, what is it called? Chaos replay video that I did? That's a case where it's hey, look at this expensive product that doesn't live up to everything else that's going on in the market. It's not because it's expensive that it's bad. I was forced to buy a Push 3? Really? Somebody put a gun to your head and said you must buy this Push 3? Would you say it's worth it for that value? Let me ask you this. What other stage pianos do you think it competes with? What other stage pianos is it competing with? You can very much easily answer it for yourself. Yamaha Genos costs $4,500. It says it's what it says on the tin. Just curious if this one from Arturia is similar. I'd choose a Nord over the Arturia, I guess. What features on the Nord would you pick? And then what's the price of the Nord keyboard that you're talking about? Come on, let's follow the rabbit hole down, my friends. I love this because you can very easily just say like, oh, all these, I would rather pick this. And it's like, okay, well, what does that cost? And what does the feature set have? And well, how is it different? Dustin, what's happening? True story, I went to pick up a used Launchpad Mini and someone stole it. Yikes. I got the Launchpad X instead. Well, maybe that's the universe sending you some type of message. Maybe you were meant to have the Launchpad X versus the Mini. I think you'll enjoy your time with the Launchpad X. What's good, B Jammin'? Welcome, nice to see you here. Sledgeman Guitar says, I think this keyboard looks like a dream and brings a lot of features to the table. I agree. It's true. Thank you, Celestine Prof. It's true. My birthday is Thursday. My album release is Friday. We might do a bit of streaming later in the week to celebrate all that, but stay tuned on that. I'll definitely post it all. I will post it all, you know, in the normal places, Discord, Instagram. I'll schedule a stream or something. We'll have a big celebration later this week. It's been all business lately, chat. We did the SP404 update last week, then this new product came. I actually didn't even expect to get my hands on the astrolab. My friend at Arturia emailed me and said, hey, the new product announcement is coming. Do you want to know what it is? I said, yeah, of course. I want to know what it is. And they were like, it's the astrolab. And it's a standalone keyboard. I was like, oh, wow, that's something different. You know, I was expecting, I don't know, maybe some new MIDI keyboard or maybe some, you know, Micro Freak successor, Mini Brute successor. I don't know. But this is a brand new product. So I think that that's pretty cool. And Arturia's always been supportive. They were just like, hey, do you want to try it? I was like, yes, for sure. And they sent it over. It's like 2 days from France. It's crazy. I don't understand why Arturia is trying to create a standalone keyboard while we are all waiting for an upgrade to their strong point, Keylab Mark III. My friend, what do you want to see on the Keylab? It's a MIDI controller. See this, just take a minute and relax, Michelle. It's gonna be okay. The Keylab is a totally different product. You have to understand. A MIDI keyboard versus a standalone stage product is like a completely different keyboard. And just because they took the time to make this product doesn't mean they're not developing their next Keylab. And also, I promise you don't need anything else from the Keylab. The Keylab you have now is fine. Do you get to keep the keyboard or do you have to send it back? I get to keep it. I didn't sign any contract. I didn't say like, oh, I have to send it back after this time or you have to make this much content with it. I said no. For me, it's like super easy. So the reason that let's talk about that first. Why was I even attracted to this keyboard in the first place? So why did I even like agree to get one? The reason is, as you all know, I've been more and more getting into like a standalone setup, and the desk behind me is meant to be like that standalone setup hub. So that's where the Push 3 is. The Push 3 is the main brain of that hub. And then previously, I was using a Yamaha keyboard, my Yamaha Reface CP, which is like a really nice sounding electric keyboard sound. And then I pair it over there with the SP404, and it's this nice like sample station. The Push has some sounds built in. The Reface CP sounds really good. And then I can use the SP404 to do like weird sampling stuff. So obviously a limitation to the push 3 is that there's no external plugins or anything like that. So you're kind of just, you're limited to all the sounds that come with Ableton Live. Not that that's that big of a limitation. However, we all know how I feel about Ableton Live's kind of like sound curation. In my opinion, it's not that great, especially for the modern producer, modern music maker. So in comes the astrolab, where you all know that I'm a big fan of Analog Lab, like all of Arturia's sounds, basically. All of Arturia's synths and sounds. Been using them for years and years. Like some of the best sounds in the game. Okay, now all of a sudden, that's all going to be in a standalone keyboard. And for me, that sounded like the perfect thing to pair with my standalone setup over there. So now with my push 3 setup, I'm not limited to just the sounds in the push 3. I've got all the Arturia sounds here that I can just jump in and start sampling, looping, recording, and all that. So it's pretty cool. And I did spend a fair amount of time this weekend just playing through. How's that sound volume, by the way, on the keyboard versus the voice? You all let me know. I just like had some time over the weekend to sit there I might be pushing that a little too hard here. Let me double check my input volume. I don't want to give you guys. Let me pull back on that. Push the master volume up. Yeah, so I spent time over the weekend since I got it. I got it on like Friday afternoon or something. Just set it up in that context that I just talked about and just sat there and cruised through a bunch of playlists. A bunch of presets is what I mean to say. So the thing is, I think if you already know Arturia sounds, there's nothing new or surprising about this keyboard. That's the thing. That's the weird thing about this product. It's not like, I'm mind blown, Arturia released this new product that does this whole new thing. It's more like, oh, they took the thing you know and love and they put it in this standalone box. So that's really the magic. Oh, and you probably already noticed that I put the hologram pedal here because as I was trying to get this set up, this is not where this keyboard will live in my setup. This is just for the stream. As I was trying to get this all set up, I need to make room on my desk. And it's like, okay, there's this big blank spot here. What do I do with that? And it's like, oh, wait. The hologram fits perfectly and matches pretty well because I have the wood sides and it's got this nice wood detail on the astrolab. So I just wanted to make a few of those clarifications. Like, I think people, they hyped up the release of a new product and probably people's expectations were like this is a brand new product, but what's inside is not a brand new product. Does that make sense? But I just wish people would not react like emotionally about gear. Like, my friends, it's just gear. You're gonna be okay. You don't have to buy it. And just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's a scam. Just because you don't have a use for it doesn't mean it's a scam. This is, I do have this to run through the hologram, by the way, which makes it even more fun. This doesn't replace a laptop. This is the problem, in my honest opinion. Honestly, only with a standalone Ableton push. Useful only with a standalone Ableton push. No. You can use, just because I'm using it, Michelle, you have to listen. And you're going to take a little time out soon. So just take a little time. You don't have to type anything. In fact, you can't. You're going to time out for 5 minutes. You can come back in 5 when you relax. It's not that serious. So just because I said that I'm using it with a push standalone doesn't mean that you have to. You can plug this into a PA system, into an amp, into a speaker system, and you can just sit there and play. It's a stage keyboard. It's meant to be like you're sitting there like performing. Either you're a singer and a keyboard player and you want to quickly switch to your piano preset. so not with the hologram, and do songs like this. Or you're part of a band and it's your time to play a synth solo. That's what this is for. It's a stage keyboard. I'm telling you, it's not marketed deceptively. It says stage keyboard on the box. Even better, it says avant-garde stage keyboard right on the box. Which means, like, avant-garde implies this is not like your standard stage keyboard. So we shouldn't even judge it. I mean, it is much closer to a standard stage keyboard than it is towards the avant-garde direction, for sure. But, like, any argument, and this is the last part I'm going to say about that, is like anybody who is saying that the marketing is disingenuous is themselves being disingenuous, because it's not at all. Dojo of Cool says, checking out keyboard players that are performance-oriented than keyboard players that are recording-focused, and both say there aren't enough controls without using a computer. For me, so the other reason that I thought that this product was for me, this keyboard was for me, is because I don't want to do synthesis. I promise you're not a better sound designer than half the folks at Arturia that designed all the sounds. Which, by the way, if I just like scroll through, if I go to pad, and if I just start scrolling, can y'all see this? This is just in the pad category. So just in the pad category, if I start scrolling through all of the presets, this is how many presets are here. We're back at the top. So that's to say, that's just one category. If I go to keys, same deal. I can scroll through all of these presets. So yeah, if you're somebody who likes to go deep into sound design, it's not going to be for you. But I don't think that's who this, again, it's a stage keyboard. It's not who it is for. I'm not here to defend the astrolab. I'm just here to say, y'all got to stop being like super negative every time something new comes out. Like, it's okay to say, oh, that's cool for those people. It's not for me. Aslan, you came in here with a big question that you could have done a lot of research on before asking. So come back in with a suggestion for a setup that you think after doing some research, and then I'll let you know if it's good or not. Aquatic Boreal says, Arturia's effects are pretty good, though. What would be good to put in that little space is a sequencer or touch device. Yeah, so like the thing about the app is, does it mean it can work only with an amp without connected to no computer? You don't need to be connected to the computer at all. It's a standalone keyboard. So I have been trying to connect to the Astrolab app on the iPad, and we successfully pair every time because this can broadcast Wi-Fi, this keyboard, but after it connects to the Astrolab's Wi-Fi, it asks me to connect to my home Wi-Fi for some reason, which I would like to not do. So I'm going to try to connect it to my home Wi-Fi. But every time I've done this previously, it has not worked. It says connection failed. It connects to the Astrolab successfully. Then it asks to connect to my home Wi-Fi. And then the connection doesn't work. So I don't understand that. But you're right. I'm sorry, whoever just said that. My ideal situation would be, if I needed to edit sounds or something, I put the iPad there. But as you can see, connection failed there again. So I've already connected to, I've already updated the keyboard. So I've updated the firmware. But if you are like showing up to your gig and you're like, okay, tonight we're playing these kind of songs, you can choose a playlist, which is a collection of presets. So if you have a gig and you know, like, I want to use these 9 sounds during this gig, you can preload that. So I imagine that that's what that would be used for. But then again, you can also build that on the Astrolab itself. I guess the app in the software integration is more for like if you want to get into nitty gritty sound design, which is what we talked about before. No black version planned. I don't know. Arturia's history, they pretty much usually, don't they always come out with different colorways and stuff? I don't know if that'll be different for this product, but it is possible. You don't really need to do any sound design with this. The macro knobs are good for tweaking. I agree with that. Of course, I think there's always going to be people who want to go deep into sound design, but again, I don't think that's who this is for anyway. But yeah, so me being one of those people that is not super interested in sound design, and man, my camera's not in the right place. Not that button. Not that button. This button. So the controls that we do get here, let me go to like a basic, something basic. Do you guys need more volume on that? Let me know, because I do. Basic controls that we get: brightness, timbre, time, and movement on these 4 macro encoders here. They've got that nice lighting detail. If I can get there. They are endless encoders, but you do get the visual feedback of the lighting detail, which is nice because a lot of these knobs play double duty. So here's some brightness, timbre, which means something different for every instrument. So we go from that very overdriven sound to a very soft sound. Juma, how are you doing? Nice to see you. I see you. Don't worry. We're having a stream, my friend. If you need my attention, you gotta be patient. Time. I don't hear much effect on time, but there's no time effect. Actually, oh, that's what it is, because there's no delay dialed in, which is this next set of knobs over here. Sorry for all the zoom in. Next set of knobs over here, which I can do. Oh my gosh, I can do this now. You can see. These are where all the effects are. So different presets, different sounds will have different effects A and B. Then we'll have delay and reverb for each one. So here we are in delay. I'm not hearing the time adjustment there on the instrument, so it could just be that there's no time-based parameter for this electric keyboard sound. But movement, there we go. So, you know what I mean? To me, it's like, I know I want an electric piano sound. So boom, I go into the electric piano category. Oh, I want that, but with less movement. Oh, I want that, but with a different timbre, like a harsher timbre, overdrive, essentially. Let me dial in these other effects. And then meanwhile here on the screen, it is telling you what these effects are. So this effect is a parametric EQ mix. Next is a distortion mix, then delay and time are labeled accordingly. But these knobs, which I think is going to be a little difficult to show, again with the double duty action, they each have subtext under them, so we can hold shift and we can adjust the volume of a specific sound, the bass, the mid, the treble. So essentially we have EQ here, and then we have intensity of effects A and B, then time and decay of the reverb here. So that is at a glance the control that you're getting. Everybody says, oh, not enough control over the sound, not enough control over the sound. Well, you have, I think, in this kind of context for this kind of keyboard, I think you have enough control over the sound. You can control the basic EQ, you can control the amount of the effects, the types of effects, etc. I don't think it's that crazy. A lot of people complaining about the key beds. What is the main complaint about the key bed? What are you hoping to see in a key bed? That's what I would like to know. For me, all the time I've spent testing keyboards and stuff, these are just synth action keys. They're nothing compared to this keyboard over here, which is like a full 88 key grand weighted key keyboard. It's nothing compared to that. These are just normal synth action keys. I've never really, there's not many keyboards that I've been like, oh, this keybed is so bad. So, Manolise, can you explain to me the difference between the Mini Freaks keys versus the Keylab Essentials keys? Michelle, you don't have to see a market for it. It's okay. I just told you that I'm an audience of one. I'm a market of one. I'm telling you that this keyboard is for me. So you don't have to say that anymore. Now you do see a market for it. See, I'm here. I'm on screen. I'm a market for it. I'm here. I'm both a producer that produces in the box stuff and has a standalone setup and wants to do a little bit more performance. So here, I'm here. You see me. You might not be explicitly being rude, but by being negative again and again and again and not lobbing like real, it seems like you're mad that they didn't release a product that you wanted versus like you have real criticism for this product. So you should just reflect on that. Tenley, nice to see you. How are you? Should we arpeggiate? Built-in arpeggiator. All right, I'm gonna be going like crazy with the camera. I did put a different lens on this overhead camera, if y'all notice. A, to be wider, to be able to get this wider shot, and B, now I can do a zoom. The previous lens was a fixed thing. So if I long press the ARP button, I can edit the arpeggiator. I can toggle the hold on and off. I can also do that with the shift function on the arpeggiator. I can do the things like the type, the octave range, the rate. Let's change that to be a faster rate. Sync, you know, we've got different ins and outs on this thing, so you can arrange your different sync stuff. And then the part selection, which is really cool. A lot of presets can get split into parts, and we can also split our own parts on this thing. So now we should have let's do octaves. Let's do an octave range of 2. And again, I can hit Shift ARP, which is going to toggle the hold on. No hands. Ooh, that's interesting. When I toggled the ARP off, it like attacked a whole nother note, and now we have this held sound. Let's switch presets and see if that goes away. It does. They should definitely fix that in a firmware update. And I think, let me test this. That is interesting. When we switch presets, the arpeggiator settings reset. So we might have to save those settings somehow. I didn't know that. So like you're seeing here, these are the basic preset pages. So right now they're categorized by instrument type: piano, electric piano, organ, bass, lead, keys, pad, strings, bass, sequence. Then there's a playlist button. So all this means that in any of these categories, you can select the category, and now you're scrolling through all the presets within that category. Let's do sequence. Is there sequential? Instant progressive house. This is an example of a split type sound. So this is something you can create on your own, or you'll encounter with many other preset sounds here. This is kind of basic for a lot of other keyboardists, but we've got a split keyboard now where we've got this arpeggiated bass here. So split keys, that's something you can make yourself, or other presets will have that baked in. So that's pretty cool. You can split the keyboard. This I don't think you can see on the camera here, but there are little LEDs above each key like we've seen on a lot of other keyboards in the past. Those LEDs are right now indicating the split. So from here on, these LEDs are green. From here down, these LEDs are orange, which is very easier, much easier to see in person, even more easy if I didn't have all these blinding lights on me at the moment. Can't edit the sound, and it's not enough ways to edit the sound. It's a beautiful sound already. You don't need to edit the sound. Amelia S, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah, the split keys function is neat. There is a MIDI looper as well, so let's look at that. I'm not an expert at that, but let's go ahead and go to electric keyboard sound. Let's spin the wheel. Actually, no, let's do pads. Let's do a pad sound. Actually, you know what I've done? I've liked a bunch of sounds. So if I hit shift back, that brings me to the home. And from the home menu, you have access to your settings, playlist, sound banks, artists, which I want to talk about, and then liked. So if I go to liked, I've already just hearted some presets. Which, by the way, there's that aftertouch. I'm just applying more pressure to the keys. Some criticism I've seen is like there's not per note aftertouch, so it's like per channel, meaning if I apply aftertouch only in my right hand right now, it's happening to the whole sound. So there's that. Okay, looper here. You see, I just hit record, it just starts looping, right? Let's edit that. It's going to make new recordings, and these are MIDI indeed. So here, let me see if I can... So boom, I didn't do a perfect loop, but we've recorded that. And what will also happen now, if I switch to keyboard, it's MIDI. So it's not an audio looper. No matter what I switch to, it's going to play this loop on the selected preset. You can turn the metronome does not have to be on, by the way. It's not looping the playback right now. It's just playing back the MIDI one time. There's transport receive, so you can have this all synced up with your MIDI. There's tempo sync. There's count in, which I didn't have on. That's what made it difficult. And let's turn looping on. Okay, and we can also change the loop length, but we can leave it at 16 bars for now. So if I'm in piano, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's the MIDI loop now. Very poorly played MIDI loop. So we can go ahead and we can save those, I believe. Yeah, file. We can save the recording and we can save the different synths that it's saved with. So why don't we save it on that? Give it a different name. Cool, and now it's saved. So I could revisit that. So that's just a little easy, I guess, songwriting tool if you were just sitting at the keyboard working and you wanted to remember a chord progression or something like that. Or you came up with a melody that you really wanted to record and capture in that moment. All right. Amelia is quite busy. How are we feeling about the astrolab here? We're feeling pretty good. There's some folks in the chat who like really want to hate this device for one reason or another, but I can't bring myself to hate it. Of course, it's a product that's more than $99, so people are going to be mad just about the price. Obviously, it is a very expensive product. $16.99 at the normal retailers, right? Let me check. I know it was listed on Arturia's site for like $2,000, but on the proper retailers, it is listed at $15.99. So again, this is not something that you have to buy at all, by any means, and it's definitely like a pro level device for a very specific audience, or you would have to have a very specific use case. It's not something I think anybody should go out and just buy on an impulse buy. You should have a real reason. You should have a real hole in your setup that you want this to fill. Hi-Fi says, I think $15.99 is a fair price. I do too, just in reference to other stage keyboards. Like I think the least expensive Nord keyboard is $2,000. And those are pretty much the industry standard, I think. By the way, if there's one review you should watch, you should watch Noir at... hold on. Let me just link his channel. Noir, who is like a true stage keyboardist, has a review, and he is probably the person you should watch. I think his review is the most valuable because he's closest to the stage use case. So there's a review that I think is worth watching. He makes some comments. One criticism he also has is about the power cable. The power cable is a proprietary power cable that locks in. Let's see, where is it? It screw locks in, which is nice, but again, it's proprietary. It's not your typical keyboard power cable. And that is difficult because imagine you're going from gig to gig, throwing the power cable in your bag constantly. You lose it once, you're kind of screwed, right? MPC Key 61 seems like a far better deal. Those are two different devices, completely different devices. You really, I don't think you can compare the sound, the attention to detail and the breadth of sound selection on the MPC Key to the Astrolab, because Arturia has spent, years and years and years developing these sounds that are built into this thing. At the same time, if you're looking for a workstation where you're going to be making beats on a machine, obviously the astrolab can't do that. So it's two completely different things. You would not be shocked if you find yourself being like, well, I could get the astrolab or I could get the MPC Key 61. You probably haven't thought deeply enough about what you actually want to get, what kind of device you actually need. I think this is kind of a thing that's happening more and more in the music tech space, and it's getting like more and more fatiguing. There's so many products, like consumer products, available for music making, and more people are getting into music making as a hobby, which is a beautiful thing. But I think more of those people that getting into music production as a hobby are feeling more and more emboldened on social media, or they just like, I think it's like a mob mentality kind of thing where everybody feels like they need to speak with some expertise on something that they don't really do at a professional level. And I'm not speaking down to anybody. Like, literally, like, if you're a person that just stays at home and just likes tinkering and likes making music, you're totally valid. You should definitely do that. But I feel like I see way too many of those people jumping into conversations where, like, people who use like these products professionally, not just at the consumer level, like, not everybody needs to be an expert on everything. You know what I mean? I wish I had plugged in my sustain pedal earlier. This is a performance keyboard, mostly. Studio performance, yeah, studio or stage performance, I would say. What else on the market could you compare this to? Probably some Nord keyboards. Any other standalone performance stage keyboard. If you type in stage keyboard at any music retailer, you will find what this competition is geared towards. This is for people who like arturia sounds, just like how people like a Korg or Yamaha or Roland. Very true, Josh West. And also, not to mention, the sounds that they've been building up over the years, they've done a lot of work to convert very classic synthesizer sounds to software. Sorry, y'all, my windows, everything is too bright. We gotta close the curtain. Now. All right. There we go. Everything's a lot less blown out now, I think. Yeah, Nord is more expensive for sure. I think with the Nord keyboards, you are going to get that level of sound design and control that people are asking for on the hardware. I think Paolo's assessment here of that MPC key argument is correct. MPC key is more like a not powerful DAW with keys, and the astrolab is more comparable to a Nord to have all the beautiful sounds. Right. So I don't want to misrepresent anything. We are talking about how, like, the pure sound design like the deep sound design editing is not present on the keyboard in its standalone functionality. However, when pairing with the app, which I have not been able to do, or when pairing with a computer, you can go in and do all that nitty-gritty stuff. So the sound you've been hearing, let me just show you. The sound that you've been hearing is just raw audio from the headphone out of the astrolab to Ableton Live. You can see this, track 1 here. It's coming in over the inputs. All there is a utility device on there. Right? I don't have any plugins open. What I do have open in the background is Analog Lab Pro, which, as you can see, we are linked to the astrolab. All that is doing is linking, well, obviously it's linking to the astrolab, but what it's doing is syncing up so that when I change presets and things on the astrolab, it is going to sync up that way. The purpose of that is so you can go and make new presets or edit existing presets and then save that sound to the astrolab. So as you can see, this sound that we're playing with right now is a Pigments sound, So all that sound design that everybody's crying about, oh my god, I don't have access to the sound design. I promise you're not showing up to any gig and booting up a synth and like digging into like the LFOs and tweaking that. People are not doing that. What you would be doing is being like, okay, I want to use brand new sounds during my live show. Let me spend a weekend digging into the synths and editing the synths, etc., which you can do here and then save to your keyboard and then take it to the gig, etc. So I think companies are kind of hitting a sweet spot when it comes to using either a computer or a tablet to do deeper editing and then having a standalone box. I think we were seeing that more and more. We're seeing it with Push 3, where like basically Ableton Live becomes a software editor for Push 3. Yamaha with the Seek Track. Yamaha did a really good job making the app and the editor for their standalone device. And here, it's nothing unfamiliar at all. It's the analog lab you know and love that you can do all your deep editing and preset creation with. And then you can edit it for your standalone device. So I think we're entering into this new era where the technology for standalone devices is getting a lot better, but we don't have to sacrifice. It's not like we're stuck with the standalone device and we're limited to the capabilities of what the individual box can do. That's not the case anymore. We have these powerful secondary devices that we all carry around and use anyway. So if we can do deeper stuff in those and those things can talk to each other, I think that's a win for us. I think, obviously, look, do you all want to know how easy it is to tell when people are just dunking on stuff, just to dunk on stuff, and they don't have their own real opinion? It's when you see the same comment over and over and over again. I'm just like overexposed to commentary on the internet about music tech, especially. So like Yamaha Seek Track comes out and everybody just repeats, oh, it's not a standalone device if you have to use a software editor. It's not a standalone device, you have to use a software editor. Yeah, those people have probably never actually made music or like don't make music seriously because they don't understand the convenience of that. Oh, I have this little box that I can use, and then when I want to go deeper, I can just use my tablet or use my iPad and dial things in more if I want, or make MIDI assignments or changes if I want. And then I'm right back into making music. Anybody who criticizes that workflow does not make music seriously. I can guarantee it. The other thing is like, so again, things repeated over and over again. What comment did you all see over and over and over again on the internet? The most obvious comment about the astrolab. What did we see? What did people say about this little thing here? Oh my god, it looks like a Nest thermostat. Which it does. It no doubt does. Like, that's totally normal for anybody to have that as an initial reaction. Oh, it looks like a Nest thermostat. It does. It's like it might even be the same hardware. Who knows? But yeah, it's obvious, like you don't have to be the 1700th person to comment that. And also it's like people commenting that as a dunk is the worst thing. Like, oh, it's so lame. They have a Nest thermostat on their things. Like, what are you talking about? This is like super convenient. It's a very high quality screen, easy to see, easy to navigate around. A little wobbly though. What I did expect is like on the Push 3 has a wheel that is not a screen. But that wheel is cool on the Push 3 because it moves in all the 4 directions. This one doesn't. So it's just spin and click, which is not too bad, but it would have been cool to have that other, kind of hardware implementation there. Shift home. Since I'm zoomed in on the screen here, let's look at artists. I thought this was so cool. I would have killed for this as a younger person, and this made me even more like think about the use case for this product, because if you think of what is my channel all about, chat? It's about making music, but making music accessible. Making music accessible, if that makes sense. Like, if you want to get right into making music and you want to have the foundational knowledge you need to make music, but you also want to make the things that inspire you, you want to be able to do that. So when I was a kid, especially even now when I'm an adult, if I hear a sound, I'm like, damn, that sound in that song is cool. Let me use that sound. Not oh, that sound in that song is cool. Let me figure out how to make that sound. That's not what I want to do at all. I want to jump in and make the sound. So, to that effect, we've got artists here, list of artists. Artist tributes, that is. I'm sure there's some level of copyright involved here. I don't know what it is, but they're just synth preset sounds. But I assume the use of an artist's name would have to be somehow cleared. But these are all listed as tributes, so I guess in the same way you can have karaoke songs, like karaoke in the style of Beyonce. It's fine. But these are all different artist sounds. So let's go to the Grimes tribute. The Genesis bass. I don't know how to play Genesis, but if you know Grimes, you know that sound. Then you know this sound. The Oblivion bass. So that to say, if you know these songs by Grimes, Genesis and Oblivion, you knew those sounds immediately. Herbie tribute. So for all you jazz heads out there. Journey, Kraftwerk, Lady Gaga. Bad Romance Saw. How does Bad Romance go? Is it... What is the song that I'm thinking of? I'm not going to play the actual songs, but, you know. Don't want to get claimed, and also I don't know how to play them, so... Ramu la la. MJ tribute. I wonder who that could be. Seems like it would be also incredibly useful for wedding bands. Interesting. Beat It Rhodes. Criminal Beat Gong. Oh no, it's a... Cut. You get the picture. All these famous sounds. Radiohead tribute. Let's go. Plucked bass. Yeah, so this is where you would start to use playlists, Aquatic Borealis. Like if you're in a wedding gig, I think you would just be like, okay, for the first 9 songs or however you want to split it up, you'd be like, I'm using these songs. And then maybe you take a break after 9 or 10 songs anyway. So then you jump into a playlist and you pick a different playlist. So playlists, we already talked about the presets here. The playlists are... another set of 9 instruments that you can customize and set. So you can find 9 instruments that you like, save it for a playlist. And then you can find 9 more instruments that you like, save it to a playlist. So you can quickly navigate between them. Make sense? But yeah, I thought the artist feature was very smart for Arturia. It actually shows that they're paying attention to what kind of music people are likely to play on a stage keyboard, but then also what kind of music certain producers might want to make. My beef with gear opinions is that it leaves the artist out of it. If an instrument inspires you, then your experience is more authentic and it transmits to your music. Yeah, well, that is a major problem with people commenting online, because many people commenting about consumer products online are not artists, unfortunately. Which, again, it is fine to be a hobby player. It is not fine to be a hobby player and speak as if you're a professional online. But we have no way of distinguishing that online. So somebody can speak very loudly and somebody can articulate a negative opinion very well, and people can glob onto that. But what they don't know is that person is in no position to make that negative opinion, you know? They don't have the experience enough to actually make that opinion. And then a bunch of other people who want to be angry and are just hobbyists and don't have enough knowledge to know whether or not that criticism is real or not can channel their anger through that person by liking or like validating that person, and it just creates this spiral of negativity. That's why I literally can't use Twitter anymore, and I pretty much can't use Threads anymore, because it's like way too many people who don't actually know what they're talking about speaking very loudly, and I'm kind of over that. This is true. Dungeon Master says, other brands, take note of how good Arturia is at creating presets. I agree. Like, there's a lot of Arturia sounds, and there's a lot of sounds that I'm like, these aren't for me. But the amount of sounds, basically, when I scroll through the Ableton sound library, I would say 6 out of 10 sounds are unusable for me. That's a subjective thing. When I scroll through the Astrolab library, I would say 8 out of 10 sounds are usable for me. Did you all have any other questions? Somebody did mention this, the chord functionality. There you go, one touch chord functionality. You can hear that those are all major chords. But if we hold shift and we press scale, now scale is on. And these LEDs at the top here, sorry, again, not sure if you can see them or not, but they illuminate with notes in the scale. So now these notes that I'm playing, these chords that I'm playing are in the context of a scale. So let's hold shift, let's long press to edit. We can choose the scale. We're in C major, obviously. We can choose the scale type. Let's just change that to minor to demonstrate that. And I can play out of key notes, but it will lock it to the key. Oh, that's so interesting, though. I didn't realize this. So in the key of C minor, there's no E natural, obviously, right? But instead of just playing the same chord here and the same chord here, it gives us a different voicing for that chord. It gives us a 9, I think, or a suspended chord. That's very cool. Those two are the same. I don't know why. They didn't take that idea all the way across the scale, which is interesting. Here they did. So that's cool implementation there. Here you have the type of chord as well, so we can change this to major 7. Major 9. One touch chords. Which is why, for somebody like me, so this is a stage keyboard. I think the primary use case is for stage performance, live performance. But for me, I do think there are a lot of compositional benefits too. Everything from like being able to record that MIDI loop, from being able to do chords like this. I mean, you need to take like 7 different steps just to get Ableton Live to do this. You need to like put a chord device and put a scale device and set the scale now. Like this is just like going to hit a chord button and go into chord mode. Okay, now this is even cooler. Part selection, which means you can, remember we were talking about split keys before. You can have your left hand playing chords and your right hand playing a lead or a melody or something. So very robust feature there on the chord and scale side of things. And of course you can use the scale function independently, which I still have the scale on, so I'm going to turn that off. You can use the scale and chord function independently of each other. All right. Questions? Make music you got and enjoy it. When you actually run into obstacles when making your music, then look for gear. Live by this and you'll be happier. I agree. But Sledgeman, it's so much easier to just comment about stuff on the internet than to actually learn to use devices and make music. Don't you understand? This is all stuff you can do with a laptop and MIDI keyboard. That makes this a very nice product. A very niche product. I could see this being a favorite among standalone people. Yeah, that's who it's for sure. If you're content with your laptop and you can recreate this experience pretty much exactly with a laptop and MIDI keyboard, no doubt. So if you don't have a need for a standalone device like this, definitely don't get the astrolab. What Jeff said is true. But I don't think that makes it very niche. I think, Jeff, if you're here watching this channel and you're involved in like the music production space online, I think you're likely only exposed to a little tiny corner of the music industry. That's what I want people to understand. Like, y'all, us here on this stream in this community, we're in a very little niche. Like, we're in our own very little niche. So like the laptop plus MIDI keyboard community that you're referencing here, Jeff, is a very little niche. We don't make up like the majority of music production communities or music communities at large at all. Like there's probably a much larger community of live performers and stage musicians and things like that than there are of people sitting in their bedrooms with MIDI keyboards and laptops. Try to look at it from a much broader perspective, not just our own. Perfect. Then you know that the stage market is out there. Worship musicians, good point, Hi-Fi. Worship musicians, man, you can find so many good Ableton Live tutorials by worship musicians. There's like a whole other like niche within a niche on that front. Are all of these sounds inside of Pigment's and Analog Lab plugin? The sounds that you're hearing are inside of the keyboard. Also, the sounds that you're hearing inside of the keyboard are Analog Lab sounds, Pigment sounds, Arturia sounds. But they're living inside the keyboard. You can then use a computer to edit them. Yeah, no worries, Jeff. I was just saying, like, I don't think this product is as niche as you're characterizing it to be. I just think, I think standalone people, that's one niche of people that this is a product for. Stage performers, that's another niche. You know, it culminates a bunch of niches, not just a singular niche, I think. For a live setting, it's easier than hauling around a laptop. It's something I've been trying to figure out. You're saying hauling around a laptop is easier or just a single keyboard is easier? The thing that I could see, like, I don't know, because I don't have much stage experience either. So, Jeff, if you can answer this question, I feel like using a laptop on stage for a keyboard player almost feels like more dangerous, because I feel like my laptop can crash a lot easier than a standalone keyboard can. Even though like my laptop or my software like crashes not that frequently, I feel like it's much higher of a chance that the laptop will fail somehow, whether it be in software or in hardware, than this standalone keyboard. You know what I mean? Or any standalone keyboard. So to your point of like hauling around a standalone keyboard is easier for sure, but also this thing is heavy too. So if you wanted to do laptop plus keylab, that would be a lighter setup. I guess the trade-off there is you having to use the computer. So I don't know. I feel like it is this balancing act. And I feel like all music production gear is this balancing act where for some one case is better, for others another case is better, and it's going to come down to your individual preference and like just logistics. Like, are you able to, like, are you driving around on tour? In that case, this heavy keyboard will be nice. Are you flying? Are you going to have to pack this thing up in a flight case or something? That's another consideration to make. Number of laptop plus MIDI musicians is growing fast, at least in new generations. For sure, Michelle, for sure. And I was just watching a lot of the Coachella performances this weekend. And I mean, you see pretty much every drummer has a laptop next to them, and they're probably running the sync or whatever. Not running the sync, but they have control over probably timing and song changes maybe on the laptop, if they don't have a person backstage who's doing that. So what's up? Hail Nomad just got back from watching Steve Aoki and Zed. Amazing. I saw that on your story. Hail, that's pretty dope. I hope that concert was good. Laptops are not beer proof, that's for sure. Adam Neely documented this in his tour videos. The laptop crashes, you have to have a backup. Exactly. So that's why, like, I think standalone devices, like even for me, like I would love to be on a standalone device, but every configuration I have is imperfect. But then, of course, then you like, okay, I'll use a laptop, and then that configuration is imperfect somehow. More prone to crashing, or more likely to crash, even if the likeliness is pretty much smaller. Got it, Jeff. I hear you. Sorry to have reacted earlier. It's hard to filter through like well-meaning people speaking about stuff, and people who just kind of want to be mad. So trying to navigate that. FKJ runs multiple laptops for that reason. Yes. So most live performances that have playback and they use laptops, they have multiple. Daltrick, who you all know that has been on the stream, she works in that space, and she is no stranger to setting up multiple laptops, a backup laptop, a main laptop. So something goes down, you got to be ready to run it. What happens when the backup goes down is the question. There were some disastrous things happening at Coachella, though. I don't know if any of you watched the streams. They streamed the whole thing on YouTube, which is pretty dope. But like, I watched the Japanese house perform, and they just like were having monitoring issues. Like they couldn't hear themselves. The singer, at least, she couldn't hear herself or her guitar in her monitors. So the whole time they're just like arguing with the sound people. But what's crazy is the mix out sounded great. They sounded great and they sounded fine. But like pretty much the whole set, they were struggling with monitoring and just like communicating back and forth with the sound engineer. It did not sound like the sound engineer was doing a very good job of fixing things. So that must have been frustrating. And then Grimes performed. She did a DJ set, which I thought was slightly disappointing. I wanted to see Grimes do a proper performance. She did a DJ set, and she stopped 3 times to apologize because all of her songs were marked at double BPM. I don't know much about DJing and CDJs, but I imagine if you're trying to mix a song at 120, 2 songs at like 120, but the other song is marked at 240 BPM. Now it's like half timing that song. It's not going to work out well. So she stopped like 3 times to apologize for that, and I thought that was pretty funny. It's very in Grimes fashion, just having a quirky performance. For arturia people that like the sounds, I think is wonderful. I would buy a Complete Control S61 standalone device since I love native instrument sounds, but I think this astrolab is a bit expensive. It is for sure expensive. If you're comparing it to a MIDI keyboard, it is going to be expensive, my friends. You gotta not compare it to a MIDI keyboard. That's not what it is. Like $15.99 is generally expensive. Is generally a lot of money. However, when you look at the shelf of stage keyboards, you have to compare it to those prices. You can't just say $15.99 isn't a lot of money. You have to say, well, what does this look like in terms of its competition? And you can't rank it against something that's not its competition, which is a MIDI keyboard. It's totally different. But you are right. That is another solution, is to just get a MIDI keyboard and use software. Wait, that's a good point. Bro, we dragged around a Rhodes for 10 years. Our practice spot was on the 3rd floor with no elevator. Rough. That is rough. Yeah, so I used to do a lot of live performances when I was much, much younger, like singer-songwriter stuff. So just me plus a guitar or me plus a keyboard. We played in almost every Hot Topic in New England, probably, like doing in-store live performances. And that was like, try to find the parking lot that's closest to the Hot Topic. There probably isn't one. Then drag a big standalone Behringer PA speaker, plus the guitar, plus the instruments, plus the mics, plus the stands set up. And then we played in a band for a bit, so going to different gigs in that. Whose car can fit all the gear, who can bring the drums, does the drummer have a car, how about this amp, these tube amps, we got to make sure they don't break, that's part of the reason I was like, this isn't adding up. This whole live performance thing isn't adding up. Like, so content with being an electronic musician who does basically everything from home, If I'm playing live, if I'm playing live, I have to have my laptop and Keylab 88. I constantly worry about my laptop crashing mid-gig or having to set up in a place where I can easily see the screen or away from the drunks. Oh, the stress. Also, all this mention of like native instruments plugins, you will never catch me using a native instruments plugin on stage. Depending on a native instruments plugin on a stage, hell no. I am not having like contact crash in the middle of a live performance. Like, there's no way people can. Do people use native instruments plugins for live performance? That's crazy. Miss Nadia, hola. Grimes did the same thing in Mexico. We all thought she was going to sing or something, not that it would just be a weird DJ set. Yeah, I think that Grimes definitely needs to have like DJ set in parentheses next to her name when she's performing as a DJ, because I think most people would have expected she's performing properly. You have to mix around the same BPM to mix well, otherwise it throws off the DJ set. Exactly. So you're trying to mix like a 120 track to a track that's like close to 120, but it's actually labeled like 245. Yikes. But that's like her brand. That's Grimes' brand. It works. She can stop 3 times during her set and be like, sorry, this is like broken. I don't know what I'm doing. Or she does know what she's doing, but like, it's just like chaos. Also, during that set, she had this guy in this mech, this like spider mech. I definitely recommend you just watch a little part of her live set. She was performing on like a elevated DJ booth, and then just next to the DJ booth, there was this giant spider mech that this dude was just sitting in, and it was just like moving around. I don't know who the guy was. I checked the Yamaha Genos 2 and it's $5,000. I think this astrolab competes more with the Genos 2 than their own keylab. It definitely competes with standalone devices. It does not compete with keylab. That I don't want to keep talking about that. I don't want to keep talking about people thinking that this should be compared to a MIDI keyboard. I can't. No. Elon Musk is such a scumbag. Free speech for everybody. Free speech absolutist, except when something offends me. Only Ableton stock plugins for live performance for keys and vocal effects. I don't know what that is. Is it a question? I don't know. Oh yeah, Native Instruments does have Machine Plus for standalone devices. Only person I know that uses that is Datsun. Does Fred again use a Machine Plus, or is he using a MIDI version? I don't know. Genos 2 is an arranger though. Yes, way too. Genos 2 is an arranger though. You guys can't just say, Mentalese, you can't just say something is way too expensive just because it costs a lot of money. We have to distinguish between it's expensive for you or it's expensive in terms of its competition. If the Genos, I don't know anything about the Yamaha Genos 2, but I have faith that Yamaha knows how to price their products, and if they're selling a $5,000 keyboard, that it is probably, there's probably been a lot of research and development that has gone into this stage keyboard, and I could probably find a lot of famous people that use this stage keyboard. Yeah, I mean, obviously this has a ton more features, like being an arranger and things like that, ton more features than the astrolab. So even if you take this price and you cut it in half, it's still more expensive than the astrolab, you know? Like, so even if you said the astrolab has half of the features of the Genos 2, you'd still be more expensive. What's a third? What's 1/3? Google, what is 1/3 of 5,699? $18.99. So even if you said, here's the okay, I'm so happy that math exists. Astrolab. Even if you want to say that the Astrolab has a third of the features that the Yamaha Genos 2 has, which I don't know anything about this keyboard. I'm just using an example because it keeps getting brought up in chat. Even if you want to say this keyboard has a third of the features of this keyboard, it's still less expensive than a third of the price of this keyboard. This is a very just logical way. This is how you guys have to look at products and pricing. You can't say, oh, it's expensive, it's a lot of money, which yes, it's a lot of money, but how about for all the other things on the market, my friend? You're not just comparing it to your wallet, you're comparing it to all the other products that are on sale. Caleb makes a good point. Watch Fred Again's Tiny Desk. You won't be disappointed. Yes, that is a very good Tiny Desk. The way he incorporates video into that live performance is so good. Have I seen Kendra Lissa on Twitch? I don't think so. Pickleback says, I don't know, the Astrolab's price makes sense to me. Folks, the Astrolab's price objectively makes sense. There's not even any room like for opinion on that. Go look up the top selling stage keyboards. Go look at where Astrolab sits in that. Go compare the features against each one. It's like pretty objective. I'm not trying to run defense for them, but it's priced accordingly. Maybe who is now into Arturia is already initiated to the MIDI laptop, and it's strange to think that somebody who doesn't know Arturia and looks for a stage keyboard ends up buying the Astrolab. Well, Michelle, you're coming from a perspective of maybe only knowing MIDI and laptop setups. If somebody's going to buy a stage keyboard, I think you're right. They're probably going to lean towards like, oh, these tried and true brands, Yamaha, or I don't know, is Yamaha the top one? Yamaha or Nord or something like that. Be like, oh, this is what everybody's using. So of course, the astrolab is a new product. They got to start somewhere. So who knows? Maybe in 10 years, Arturia has developed the flagship stage keyboard, but this is just the first iteration. So we'll see. You never know. They have to start somewhere. Good point, Dustin. Yeah, I think that's where most of the vitriol online and confusion comes from. That most people who follow Arturia bought a mini lab for $100 and they were like, oh cool, Arturia is coming out with a new product, I can't wait to get it, before they even know what it is, because they just want to buy stuff. They don't actually want to like buy things that help them make music. And then they drop a stage keyboard for $1,600 and they say, wait, that's not a $100 product, I can't spend my money on this. To be honest, that's what I think. And I know that's like an oversimplification and that's not 100% true, because people dig the microfreak, people dig the Arturia synths. But they were probably just generally not expecting a stage keyboard and not expecting an item that was going to cost $1,600. So they were mad. Also, to this point of like people aren't aware of Arturia in the stage keyboard space, I imagine that more and more people, as a younger generation more and more gets into like in the box production, and then eventually they grow into artists or performers that end up performing on a stage, they are going to walk into the store and be like, oh, Arturia makes a keyboard that has all the sounds from the plugins I'm already using. I think that is like, that's the sweet spot. Oh, I can get lost in some of these sounds for sure. What was I just saying? So I think they're kind of like well positioned for that, especially for an upcoming generation of producers, and the sweet spot of the in the box producers that become performers that are like, oh damn, this exact sound that I used in the production of this song, I can now use when I go perform this song. It's kind of pretty dope. Is there a way to split the keyboard? Yes, there is. Button right here. Part 1, Part 2, and split. It's built right into the hardware button, so it's not even like a menu divey thing. I have not used this function yet. what was I even just... Oh, I was in the artist stuff. Okay, go back. I haven't used it yet. I have only used presets that take advantage of the split function. I don't know how to do this. Part 1, low note. So right there, we can set the note, the range of the split. And we can change if the particular split, if part 1, for instance, you can split part 1 and part 2. So you can change which part gets pitch bend, mod wheel, aftertouch, sustain, and expression. You can transpose specific split parts. You can octave transpose. You can change the output channel. You can change the input channel and the range, which I just said. So that's that. Let me see if I can just quickly get to a split. There's multi-layers too. So there's split where it's like these keys are this instrument and this key is this instrument. And then there's split where it's like the whole keyboard is 2 instruments. Multiple layers. Here's an example of this is a layered sound. So this sound is using 2 different arturia synths. And you can see that right here, now I have control over these parts. So the volume mix, I can go between them. And I can do all that editing that I just talked about. Here's another split. Layer, more like layer than split. I'm trying to find a properly split sound. My mom does want you to know that it's my birthday week. I don't know where that went. It's true. Keybed it's a basic synth action keybed. Nothing to write home about. Oh, here we go. Here's a proper split. I don't know. I obviously can't play drums and all that at the same time. We'll probably do a birthday and album release stream later this week, so just stay tuned for that. It's coming. Oh, we didn't switch yet. Everything from weird ambient effects to like actual keyboard sounds. OPXA and piano pad. Turn up the reverb. Turn up the phaser. Chorus mix. mess with the timbre, mess with the movement. Brightness. All right. Short stream today because I have to go. My Melodics Beatmakers Bootcamp is currently running. So I'm doing a Q&A with those folks who are doing the Beatmakers Bootcamp in a little bit. So I'm going to have to jump off soon. But we can do some last minute stuff, last minute questions, last minute ideas, thoughts, questions, concerns, haikus. Happy birth week. Thank you, everybody, for these celebration. Josh West's birthday is tomorrow. Happy early birthday to Josh West. Thank you, Miss Nadia, for that reminder. Liking the stream is a great way to help people find the channel. Free way to support the channel. It's to understand if the standalone option will be still there in the future. I see more and more laptops on stage. Arturia VSTs had success because they allowed us to not buy standalone synths. I don't know. If you're paying attention to the market at all, you can see that we are moving in a standalone direction. I think more and more people, less and less people want to deal with all the BS that comes along with a laptop and a full DAW. I think people are exhausted with... There's the production side of things where people are like, wow, my DAW can do everything now. And then there's the performance side of things where it's like, I don't need you to do everything right now. I just need to get the sounds and like do a bit of sequencing and looping and whatever. And I don't want to bring my laptop to place X. So I think what's happening is probably the technology to be able to put more functions that would normally be available only in a computer. The technology is now available to put those in a box, like a keyboard or a push or an MPC. So I think as that technology advances, we're going to get better and better standalone devices. That's the way I see the market going. And you have to remember that the upcoming generation has never used a computer. They don't use computers. They use iPads. Don't forget that. Apple didn't port, Final Cut Pro and Logic over to the iPad for no reason. The iPad kids aren't using computers. I think even Gen Z would have trouble doing like basic computer stuff, computer troubleshooting. So I'm excited to get this keyboard off of my desk and put it over back into the standalone setup, and I will do more. Like you'll see it in action more over the coming weeks, over the coming months as I use it more in that setup over there. So stay tuned for that. If you want to know more about the astrolab, I'm going to be, actually working with it for a bit of time, probably before I talk about it again. So I just want to, introduce y'all to it and see what the main commentary and main questions would be around it, as it is a new product. So it's interesting to get it out there. I gotta jump though, y'all. We will be live again later this week, maybe on Thursday, potentially on my birthday. We'll go live and I will potentially leak my new album early. Yeah, hi-fi. That's the last note I'll say is what I'm hoping for. What I'm hoping this points to is possibly Arturia doing more standalone stuff. So imagine if this pedal right here was not the hologram pedal. Imagine if this was a pedal version of the EFX Fragments plugin. What does the next standalone Arturia product look like if they've already built this into this keyboard, Thank you so much, Celestine Prof. Appreciate you. I will see you all next time. Goodbye, Kayla. Thank you for hanging out. I'll talk to you all soon. See you all the members. See you all on Discord. And then I'll be posting on Instagram and all that stuff in the coming days as well. So let's hang out later in the week. My new album is dropping this week. New videos are on the way. My birthday is this week. Let's celebrate. Let's have a good week together. I hope you all have good luck in your music making endeavors and your general life endeavors. But we'll talk again soon. Less businessy stuff more in the coming weeks. Back to our more like chatty talk radio style show next week for sure. So that's it, y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you for all the well wishes and the happy birthdays. Don't forget to wish Josh West a happy birthday on your way out as well. Talk to you all soon. Thank you all for watching. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.